Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a horror comedy film, Tremors 2, Aftershocks. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. In the Petromaya oil field in Chiapas, Mexico, we'll see a man struggling and holding tight to the large pipes to stay above ground. All of a sudden, something in the soil starts to move towards him. The bearded man seems to be a worker in the field. The man hops on every oil drum in order to reach a van safely. Unfortunately, the creature underground catches up and jumbles the oil drums the man just passed by. The man hurriedly hops away, but accidentally, he falls to the ground. Suddenly, a humongous worm-like creature rises up from the soil and swallows the man alive. Meanwhile, in Perfection Valley in Nevada, a man receives visitors in his ostrich ranch. He is introduced as Earl. One of his visitors, named Carlos, informs him about the recent events in the Petromaya oil field, which is now infested with graboids. Carlos tells him that his workers there have been killed by these large creatures. Earl asks if there's more of them in dismay. Carlos says they need an expert to eliminate the graboids. Earl realizes that they want him to go hunting them down. So Earl declines the offer right away, even though Carlos tells him that they are willing to pay him a lot of money. Later on, Carlos' driver, Grady, convinces him using the amount of money Carlos is willing to pay for every graboid kill. But Earl keeps on declining the offer, because he says that he will never sacrifice his life for any amount. Grady enters Earl's camper van and continues to convince him again, and Grady tells him the military's willing to send him explosives to eliminate the graboids. Earl seals the deal with Carlos, and Grady volunteers to be his sidekick in the hunt. The following moment, the two drive on the way to the Petromaya oil field. Upon arrival, Earl finds out that the company's willing to double his pay if he manages to catch a graboid alive. Then Carlos shows the weapons and explosives the army sent them. He also introduces them to an engineer. The two also meet a geologist who seems to catch Earl's attention. The geologist's assistant meets them too afterward. Earl and the geologist converse regarding work inside the refinery. The geologist tells him that there are 6 people that got killed in the field, and shows him a map. The following day, Earl and Grady drive around in a truck, while making loud noises with the help of a long chain attached at the back of the vehicle. They use themselves as bait for graboids, because graboids hunt their prey by sound. The team are complacent, because they have a monitoring device in their truck. They start hunting and killing graboids coming after them, using remote-controlled minicars that are armed with explosives. They press a remote to set off every bomb, after a graboid swallows a minicar. Another day passes by, and Grady almost becomes a graboid lunch. The creature swallows the chain at the back of their truck, and starts to pull them along. Earl hits the brakes, but it's no match to the graboid's strength, which drags them everywhere on the field. Fortunately, a big rock formation cuts the chain off and releases them from the grasp of the creature. The following moment, they unexpectedly encounter a large number of graboids, leaving them with no choice but to call for help from Earl's friend, Bert. Earl and a fellow take a break and eat. Surprisingly, the geologist learns that the spikes in the graboids' bodies can be classified as Precambrian rocks. That means that the graboids are the oldest life form on the planet. But the little chit-chat gets halted, as they figure out a large graboid is on its way to the refinery they are in. But the graboid turns out to be Bert, whose big truck is loaded with explosives and firearms. The next day, Bert patrols the east, while Earl and Grady patrol the west. A buddy gives them packages of ready-to-eat meals before driving away. Bert kills the graboid that came after Earl and Grady the other day. Grady jokingly tells Bert through a radio call that graboid was supposed to be their kill then. After a little while, their monitoring device senses a graboid. But to their surprise, the creature is moving away from them. They both find its behavior weird, and decide to follow it instead. To their surprise, that graboid happens to just lure them, and prepare to swallow their truck. Earl accidentally drives backward, causing it to crash, and spill the weapons and explosives at the back of the truck. Right then, Grady hears horrifying sounds, which seem to be a graboid's groan. They find the non-aggressive creature still there. Earl points a rifle at it, while a fellow places a minicar on land, and navigates it towards the creature. But it just won't attack. Earl concludes that it must be sick, and thinks they captured a live one. Earl calls for help, and tells the geologist to send the engineer to come pick them up along with the graboid. Night comes, so Earl and Grady hang out at the top of their truck, but a much louder and horrifying groan surprises them. The two find out that their graboid is already dead, and ripped open from the inside, as if something ate it or something came out of it. Earl sends the message through the radio, but it's not working anymore. The two alertly stand up, as they hear the same groaning sound from earlier and spot the engineer's truck from afar. But all of a sudden, the engineer stops. Earl and Grady waits, but the engineer is already unresponsive. The two walk towards the engineer's location and realize that something's wrong. They see the truck destroyed and discover the engineer's remains. They escape, and we see Bert driving and try to send a message on radio, but no one is picking up. Then Earl and Grady see a destroyed radio broadcasting station. Grady gets mad because he thinks the company did this in order to make it hard for them. But Earl tells him that the graboids tend to get smarter. They hear the groan and discover a smaller bipedal graboid who tries to attack them. But Earl shoots and kills it fast. The two drive away with the car they found nearby as more of this weird-looking creature senses them. Meanwhile, Earl gets ambushed by these new creatures in the middle of the night. The following morning, the geologist is still struggling to contact anyone. The creatures arrive back at the oil refinery and attack the geologist's assistant from the outside. Earl and Grady rescue the geologist before any of the creatures can attack her. She tells them that it killed the geologist's assistant, and she cries as Earl tells her that the creatures killed the engineer as well. The three go out only to find a graboid chomping on their car's engine. Earl shoots it and drags the two back inside. Right after that, Bert returns to the refinery with his nearly demolished truck. Then Bert gives them the cold shoulder upon meeting them, because no one warned him anything about the new creatures. Earl and Grady tell him everything they encountered, including the radio station's case. Bert expresses his frustration and tells them that he even reached the point of doing hand-to-hand combat with a creature because he is completely out of ammunition. Earl and Grady still cheer for Bert, for their pal is still able to kill every creature he encounters. But the geologist voices out that she hopes he didn't kill all of the graboids because it is important for scientific studies. To their surprise, Bert is able to capture one graboid, and he is keeping it at the back of his truck. The following moment, Bert parks the truck inside the garage. Earl and Grady take a closer look at the new creature and find out that it's actually drooling. The two steps back as it growls at them. They grab onto the ropes and tie it around the creature. Then they pull the creature out from the truck. Unfortunately, they have no idea that another one of those creatures is under the truck, this time even smaller in size. It finds an open packed meal inside the garage, and the creature feasts on it. Based on the investigation, these new creatures don't seem to hear anything. But they find out that it can sense the heat of a human's body. The now caged creature squeals as it senses the four remaining humans approach it, proving their hypothesis from earlier. The creature, which they call Shriekers, gets hysterical and screams even more when it realizes that it can't go near the prey. On the other hand, the geologist concludes out that the squealing is probably how the Shriekers communicate. Earl says that if these attack any heat, it's probably the reason why they attacked machines, basically biting anything that's warm. Grady throws in a piece of food from his packed lunch, and they all see that the Shrieker eats it up even if it isn't warm. They thought the Shrieker didn't like it, because the Shrieker gags repeatedly, as if it was trying to puke. To their surprise, the Shrieker spits out a smaller creature. The geologist concludes that the creature is a hermaphrodite, meaning it can reproduce without having hormone activities. These creatures can reproduce by just consuming enough food, and replicating at an incredibly fast rate. The geologist asks them if they are confused. Shortly after, Grady notices the smaller one is growing in size rapidly. All of a sudden, one Shrieker from the outside almost attacks the geologist through the window. Earl peeks through the broken window and finds that these are now feasting on Bert's packed lunches. The four run out of the refinery, and they suggest that they should transfer to the warehouse. But the geologist objects because the warehouse is under construction. Right after that, the Shriekers lose track of them. After a while, the four hide behind detached doors as they cross carefully, because they believe that it is safer to not be seen by the creatures. They walked with doors in pairs, Earl and Grady, then Bert and the geologist. Bert asks where they are going, while Earl asks if there are any more cars that they could use. The geologist says that there is still another vehicle in the storage tank. They were able to cross successfully, but found a Shrieker from far away. Bert loads his firearm and causes an explosive shot that halves the Shrieker. The powerful shot is in maximum penetration and has caused multiple holes in everything it passed through, including the car that they all were running after. Now they cannot use the car anymore. Due to the unfortunate circumstance, the four set off on different ways to look for shelter, until a lone Shrieker senses them and squeals. This results in the other Shriekers sensing them too. So Earl and the geologist hide inside another storage, while Grady climbs up an oil tower. Bert then hides inside a bulldozer bucket. Grady spots Bert from where he is and finds out that he is cornered by 3 shriekers, whose long, juicy tongues are trying to grab and massage him from the bucket. Bert pulls out a knife, but Grady tells him to stop moving, so that the shriekers won't find him. On the other hand, Earl and the geologist struggle to avoid the shriekers. The geologist breaks a glass bottle and cuts off the smelly tongue of a shrieker, trying to reach inside the place they are hiding from. Earl comes up with a plan, and lets hot water run on a piece of clothing they found, and adjusts the clothesline until the shriekers sense it. While the creatures are distracted, the two grab this opportunity to escape, and climb up the same tower Grady is in. Earl asks Grady where Bert is, and they all see Bert still trapped inside the bulldozer bucket. Unfortunately, Bert is cornered by shriekers. Bert rants about the team's unpreparedness, and argues with Earl. They blame Grady, because he is the one who convinced Earl to do the hunt. The geologist tells them to stop arguing, relax for a bit and just wait for help. The following moment, Earl and the geologist go into a deeper and personal talk, as they spend alone time up the tower. Grady interrupts them, and points out something. He notices that the shriekers are learning to stack up on each other, in order to reach them in the tower they are on. Bert wakes up, and sees what's happening through his knife's reflection. He grabs the opportunity to get out of the bulldozer basket, and teases the shriekers. Bert uses himself as bait to the creatures, and he locks them inside the garage. Just as when they think the problem is solved, the shriekers find something to eat inside the garage. The 4 automatically try to recall what food could be in there. The geologist recalls a sweet snack food, and Bert and Grady read rice flour in the packaging in one of the lunches. Then, Earl sees a fire extinguisher, and he gets an idea. He wraps his head with a jacket, and he tells the geologist and Bert to spray the fire extinguisher at him. He covers himself in carbon dioxide, in order for the shriekers to not detect his heat when he barges in. Right after that, Earl Anderson carefully approaches Bert's truck there, while the 3 people left outside climb up to watch over him through the windows. To the 3's surprise, they are welcomed by the multiplied number of shriekers inside. Earl's carbon dioxide cover starts to melt, and thus a shrieker senses Earl. He picks up a remote from the explosives in Bert's car. Meanwhile, the 3 people outside prepare a hose to be used as a rope, but it's too short. Earl sets up the bomb, and uses a ceiling light to swing towards the open window, but it breaks off, causing him to fall down the floor where the shriekers are. He grabs the hose Grady and the geologist are holding from the outside, and finally gets out. He tells everyone to run, since he did set a bomb inside. They escape, and soon, a massive explosion destroys the entire facility. After everything that happened, Earl and the geologist decide to pursue each other, and continue their hormone ship, while Grady brings up his suggestion of opening a monster-themed park, with the money the company promised them and the reward they'll receive. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.